Giridharidharidhari Jashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. So we're going to continue reading. So this is where we left off, and this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:15:45. Purport continued. Okay. I'm going to do my radio voice now. Get close to the mic. Can you tell the difference? Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. I have fun with electronics because there's a microphone all the podcasters use that cost $400 plus usually have to spend another $150 to get it to work right. And this one, I bought two of these for $100 15 years ago. And I just pulled it out and put it in my USB mixer. And it's made by the same company, and it's almost as good. And I'm getting a windscreen to put over it that makes it sound almost as good as the... And I was thinking, it's because one famous podcaster has this mic. Every podcaster got it. It's just interesting. Hare Krishna. So, I'm going to get it real close, so I'm going to sound like I have that expensive mic. Okay. It's not how it sounds, it's what you say. That's what's most important, right? Isn't it? Well, if you say something good with a nice mic, it's better also. Significant in this verse are the words Jnanashim Achutta Balaha. Jnanasim, the sword of knowledge, is given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. When one serves the Guru, then you get strength. That's the point. Now, the real trick is manipulating this. Balaram is Nityananda Brajendra Nandana Ye Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se. Balaram Hoilo Nitai. This Balaram, comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Papi tapi yata chilo harinam udharilo. Their weapon is Sankirtan harinam. So Prabhupada is kind of modulating, so to speak, from one topic to another. In music, you modulate by, in the middle of the song, you go up a half step or a full step, right? You're singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then you go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everybody gets excited. Modulation is bringing it up a key. And there's other ways to modulate that are even more exciting, but that's not the purpose of this class. So Prabhupada's modulating from Krishna gives knowledge to Balaram gives the weapon so you can use the knowledge, and then Balaram is Nityananda, and their real weapon is Harinam. So he's going from one weapon to another. But what's interesting, and I've talked about this 108 times, so this will be 109, but I don't think we can ever talk about it enough. What's interesting is that we always talk about how when you know something, it doesn't mean you're empowered to do anything about it. I know I shouldn't eat that bag of potato chips, but I ate it anyway, and now I'm just, depressed because I didn't control myself. And, we do that. And every time we do it, we say, never again, I'll never do this again. And that's why there's the saying, never say never. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever told yourself, I'm never going to do this again, and you did it the next day? Yes or yes? Okay, so I have qualified you as bona fide human beings. You've done it. Welcome to the bona fide human form of life. You've done something you told yourself you would never do. So what Prabhupada is saying here is that knowledge is only half of the equation, because what's the use of knowing if you can't do it? That you're as good as the person who doesn't know. Well, one sense you're better off because you have potential, right? I was going to move back. One sense you're better because you have potential. But in one sense you're worse because if the person doesn't know and they don't do it, they're not as bad as the person who knows and doesn't do it, right? Like, if you have kids and they make some mistake and they didn't know, you say, well, you didn't know. But if you've told them not to do it, then they do it. Then it's like, I told you. I told you not to do this. Why did you do this? Then you get upset. So when you know, there's some responsibility. So in one sense, knowing is worse, although knowing gives you potential to act. But at least for the period of time you don't act, you're actually worse than the person who doesn't know. That didn't make you feel good, did it? Well, it's a fact. Every day you come to class, you learn more things that you might not do, so you can feel worse by not doing them. I don't even know why you come to class. You're just killing yourself, right? So, it's just depressing, right? So, yeah. So the Prabhupada's making the point that it's not like you can just do it. You need some mercy, right? We need some mercy to do it. So that mercy comes from Nityananda. By serving Nityananda, and Nityananda is Balaram. Balaram is the original Adi Guru. Serving the Guru, you get the mercy of Balaram because the Guru is a manifestation of his mercy. He's a manifestation of the mercy of Nityananda. So we need mercy to be able to follow. And every day we can follow means we have mercy, right? You've got mercy if you've, been able to follow Krishna consciousness. But the more mercy, the better we can follow, the more strength we have. So Prabhupada's saying, okay, here's the knowledge, but you need strength to be able to do it. I know I should do this, but I don't feel like it. I know I should do this, but I don't have the strength. I know I should do this, but I don't have the determination. I know I should do this, but... And so by the mercy of Balaram, you overcome all those excuses. That's the idea. And I think we had discussed, I can't remember if it was this class or what class, we had discussed how Prabhupada, when he came, this is Prabhupada didn't say it this way, but this is just how I see it. When Prabhupada came, he sized up the situation. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hippies, okay. They've been breaking all four regulative principles for years and years and years and doing it in grand style. And now we're going to get them to become devotees. And they don't even know who Krishna is. And we're going to get them to chant. Okay, so how are we going to pull this one off in a way that's going to be effective? And so Prabhupada considers, okay, so we'll reduce it to 16 rounds. And just somehow or other, you got to follow these four principles, because if you don't, it is going to undermine the potency of your rounds. And then we'll find something for you to do to keep you out of trouble. Because if you don't do something, you'll do the wrong thing. So we'll give you some service, whatever you want to do. Just do service for Krishna. Clean the temple, write a book, write an article, do a painting, do kirtan. Do something. And we'll call that all pure devotional service because you're doing it under my guidance. And basically, none of you are really qualified for this bhakti process, but Mahaprabhu wanted to spread it around the world to everyone, so we're going to adjust it. Special mercy for the fallen souls of Kali Yuga, especially special mercy for those who were born outside of Varnashram. And so then, if I was making a drama, this is how I would do it. First, you see Prabhupada sizing up the situation, come into a conclusion. Then he goes to Krishna, and he goes, okay, Krishna, you sent me here to preach, so here's the situation. These people are like this. This is what I think they can do. This is what I think they can't do. I think we're going to have to compromise in these ways, etc., etc. If they just help me with my mission and do what I ask, and at least chant 16 rounds, follow 4 or 3.8 or 7.6 or 3.23, something close to 4. Then eventually they'll get to 4 when they're like 93 or something, or hopefully a little before. And then, no, you'll get there. Yeah, some of you will get there right away. Some a little later. Perfect that 4th principle. Yeah, how to perfect that 4th principle. That's the challenge. So Prabhupada's explaining all this to Krishna, and Krishna says, yeah, I know. I understand. He said, okay, what's the deal you want to cut with me? Okay, 16 rounds, 4 principles, and they help me spread Krishna consciousness. They bring more people into the fold. And Krishna says, okay, deal. They can go back to Godhead. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in. You've been led in the door for a payment you could never afford. It's been reduced to something you can afford. That's the idea. So now Prabhupada has a mission from his guru. He wants to spread Krishna consciousness, and we help him. And so by helping him, what happens? Tons of mercy, like oodles and buckets and oceans of mercy just for presenting Krishna consciousness to somebody who doesn't have it. Like, it's not that hard to do, right? But Prabhupada is so pleased, Krishna is so pleased, and when they're pleased, then you get spiritual strength so you can start doing what you've learned. And sometimes it's not even conscious. You're just able to do it because you're getting that mercy. So I think it's super important to understand how it's all working and how fortunate we are to be able to help Prabhupada, and how much strength we get from helping him, and how much Krishna is pleased when you help somebody in any way become Krishna conscious, whether it's just giving them prasadam or telling them about Krishna or giving them a book or being their mentor or giving regular classes or anything you could do indirectly that would help somebody. Like, you put up a post on Facebook that people will read. Anything you can do directly or indirectly that would help people become Krishna conscious, then the mercy starts. You start getting this flood of mercy. Right? And it's easy. So that's the combination of sword. The sword is knowledge, and the bala is the strength to hold the knowledge, or we can say not to hold it, but to execute it. Because without strength, you can't do what you know you should do. So this is a perpetual problem for the practitioner. They learn what to do, but they don't have the past samskars. They've never done it before. And intelligence, as you know, our intelligence is connected to our heart. If we say we have a weak heart, we could also say synonymously it means we have weak intelligence. And if we say we have weak intelligence, you could say means we have a weak heart. Like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? And you say, oh, Prabhu, I wasn't thinking. I'm weak. You know, that weakness. It's affecting my intelligence. So the heart, intelligence, it's like the same thing. Krishna uses that word, petty weakness of heart. Bhaktisiddhanta was asked about this. Weakness of heart. You know, sometimes when people would do something foolish, he would say, it's a weakness of heart. That was the problem. So, we all know how much we need help, how much we need strength to execute what we're hearing, because there's a lot getting in the way between execution and learning. And it's all that conditioning, that unclear intelligence, the anarthas, so many dirty things in the heart that get in the way of allowing that knowledge just to be activated, right? So by the mercy of Balaram, it's like Krishna gives the credit card and you call Balaram, the 800 number, and it goes, now your card is activated. Otherwise, it's just a card. You know, it's like going around with this credit card, it's not activated, it doesn't do anything. So you have knowledge, but you have to activate it, and then it works. So Balaram is the activator, the catalyst of the knowledge. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's see what else we got here. The purport continues. Nayam atma balahinena labhyo na cha pramadat tapasso vapya lingat etar upayar yatate yastu vidvams tapas tasyaiva atma vishate brahma dhamma. So we've been quoting this verse before. Not the whole thing. One can't be self-realized without the mercy of Balaram. Okay. Biggest bang for your buck, yeah. So, why did you choose Krishna consciousness? Well, it was the biggest bang for my spiritual buck. That's your answer, right? Why did you become a devotee? It was the biggest bang for my spiritual. You get the biggest reward, you know. Are you going to heaven? No, we're going way beyond heaven. Are you happy? No, not at all. I'm in ecstasy. Happiness? I'm not interested in happiness. That's for like losers. You know, these are our answers. Happiness, that's for losers. Happiness is up and down. I'm in transcendental bliss, ananda. Now I'm lost where we are. Yeah, okay. So maybe this is the translation for that. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balaram. See, Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Nitayera Kuruna Hobe, Braja Radha Krishna Bhoibe. When one receives the mercy of Balaram, Nitananda, one can attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna very easily. So, yeah, there's verses like that how do you enter into Krishna Lila, Radha Krishna Lila? How do you understand that? By the mercy of Balaram. Because Radha Krishna Lila is very esoteric. Very, very, very esoteric. Extremely esoteric. Hold on. Like, how does a conditioned soul who is full of lust understand pure love? Like, all I can say is, good luck. You require some mercy, because this is transcendental to any experience. That's why when Prabhupada said there's no love in this world, everyone's like, how could he say that? That's not true. That's because we don't understand it, because we haven't understood deeply the love of Radha and Krishna. That's why we say those things. So it's the same thing. It's like, you know, on our own strength, how are we going to enter into Vrindavan? How are we going to understand Radha and Krishna? But by mercy. Anything's possible. It expands. Mercy transcends limits of our material conditioning and the limits of our minds and senses. That's how it works. So you can have amazing realizations. about very deep things through mercy. It's possible. I mean, if you're qualified, if you execute Krishna consciousness well, it can happen. So, and Prabhupada says here, which is so interesting, very easily, by the mercy of Nityananda, you can understand, you can attain the lotus feet of Radha Krishna very easily. Yeah. How do you do it? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's pretty easy. Is it that hard to chant and dance and take prasadam? Now you can make your excuses. I don't feel like it and this and that. Yeah, but if you look what you're getting for the price of chanting, dancing, and taking prasadam, and then you realize it's very inexpensive. The song goes on. Se sambandha nahi jar, birta janma gele tar, bidya kule ki koribe tar. If one has no connection with Nitai Balaram, then even though one is a very learned scholar or jnani, or has taken birth in a very respectable family, these assets will not help him. We must therefore conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balaram. Yeah, so we had discussed this, I think, at length in maybe the first or second class, that your material assets are, it's like Prabhupada said, they're zeros, so when you put the one in front of it, then the zeros work. But the zeros in and of themselves have no value. So you take a good birth. What does a good birth mean? Maybe a religious family, a Brahminical family, a family within Vedic culture, even a Vaishnava family. But in and of themselves, without the mercy of Nitai, it's not complete. It's not going to do the job. You need the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Conversely, if you don't have the mercy, if you do have the mercy and you take birth in a lower family, you'll be more advanced than someone who took birth in a higher family without the mercy. So mercy is everything. So past samskaras are helpful if you have the mercy. It just makes it easier. But without the mercy, those past samskaras are just past samskaras that aren't being properly used. And so Prabhupada ends, we must conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balaram. And the enemy is who? Who's the enemy? What are the enemies? We are the enemy, and we have met the enemy, and we are him. We are he, and we are she. Or we are him, and we are her. Yeah, it's we are him, and we are her, I think is proper. Yeah, that's proper. I think it's proper. I didn't pay attention in school, so anything I tell you about English or science or math or anything, don't listen to it. I had no interest in school. Then I started writing books, and I had to figure out, okay, I guess it's time to learn grammar because I'm writing books. So they say, if you can put a verb after he or she, then that's the right word. But if you can't, then it's him or her. That's what they say, but there's probably exceptions, right? Because English is a messed up language. It doesn't have strict rules always. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. The glories of Sanskrit class. Everything is precise. The reason English is like that is because it's a kitchery of languages. So you have different languages coming together to make it. So that's why, it doesn't always have rules. And sometimes people joke, like if you actually read English phonetically, the way it's pronounced, it would be quite funny the way you would pronounce some words, right? I'm sure when you were learning English, you probably pronounced them like that. And everyone's like, no. There's a word analogously, and Prabhupada uses it, but he doesn't pronounce it that way. And he pronounces it a different way. Anagalously or something. It's in an album. And so Govinda Das, he said, Prabhupada, it's pronounced analogously. And Prabhupada said, you pronounce it your way, I'll pronounce it my way. Hare Krishna. Well, next time I see her, I'm going to ask her, what was she thinking when he said that? Like, okay, let's tell the world you're pronouncing the word wrong. Okay, of course, now, with all the different countries in the world and different accents, there's this word that the South Africans pronounce whenever I talk to them. It's totally different than the way we pronounce it. I mean, completely different. Like if you pronounced it that way in America, people will look at you and go, didn't you go to school? But that's the normal way they pronounce in South Africa. Orientated. Or how do they say it? We say oriented. I'm not oriented to do this, and they say orientated. Maybe they're both good words. I don't know. I have to look it up. But we don't use that, orientated, in America. I don't think we do. Or maybe I just slept through that English class, and we do, and I just didn't notice. I think that was my greatest qualifications, that I had no interest in school. Because everyone says, did you study this theory? Didn't that pollute you? And I go, they probably taught it to me, but I wasn't paying attention. So like that whole evolutionary thing, and we're all contaminated by it. I was like, I don't know if they taught it to me. I was just sleeping through that. So that was one of my great qualifications, that I slept through my education. I kind of came out unscarred, And most amazingly, I entered one of the best universities in America and got good grades. I don't know how that happened. That was another amazing thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He and she is the subject, yeah. That's why I have to learn English from Croatians. And also Nadia teaches me English. Like we didn't have to study English, we just spoke it, but you actually had to study it. So in that sense, you probably know it better than we do, isn't it? Because if it wasn't your first language, you actually had to learn it. For us, we didn't really have to learn it because we just always spoke it. And then language changes, and all the slang comes up, and now the average teenager, has about a 12-word vocabulary. Like, yeah, man, it's cool, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's about as far as they go now, right? Isn't it? Awesome, dude. Yeah. Cool. Like, I was like, yeah, I was feeling it. Yeah, that's about it. That's all you need to communicate right now in America. That should do it. Okay. So, you have talk like that in Mexico also? Like the 12-word vocabulary? Yeah. It's probably all English words, right? You adopted them into Spanish. You have cool in Spanish? You say cool in Spanish? Yeah, they do. See? We've contaminated more countries in the world than any other country, right? That's why Islam dislikes America so much, because they look at America like sewer water, and we're exporting sewer water to their countries, and they don't want it, so they fight back. And the Americans have no idea why they're fighting back, because we think, we're Americans, we're the best, smartest. Right, Matthew? We're the smartest, right? We do everything the best, right? We're better at polluting. I think we're number 2 next to China. I think they beat us. We're good at polluting. We're smarter than everybody. We have more money than everyone. We're the best. Now, if you're Jewish, then you raise it up another level. An American Jew, you're the best being American, and then you're the best being Jewish. So it's like double trouble, right? So I have to fight with that one, because they say, I'm only joking, but they say the more good qualities you have, the more successful you are, the more proud you become, right? So sometimes it's easier to be a loser because you won't become proud. Well, then you'll just have low self-esteem, so that's not good either, right? Okay, another quote. Christy's going to put up the next one. Jai Balaram.
Sorry, I think me and
Finish.
Tanya, we don't have a new document, because the one we have ends with the last thought.
Oh, that might be. So let me look. That might be all there is. I have other documents. So let's look. That's probably all there is for that document. And then I will bring up another one. Okay. Oops. The wrong place. So now I have to find where I put everything. That's the whole other. Okay, hold on a second. Testing my memory right now. See where we find this. There it is. Balaram. So okay, I have to find the next document I'm looking for. So I'm just going to check this document. Yeah, that's the end of that document. Okay. Well, let's make one more statement, because Prabhupada says, I was saying the enemies of Krishna consciousness are ourselves. But Prabhupada also means in preaching, there are forces which sometimes are difficult to deal with and can be discouraging. They're trying to, forces that are antagonistic, either from the government or individuals, or from organizations who dislike what we're doing, who are threatened by what we're doing. And so sometimes we can be worn down by the battle. And so by Balaram's strength, we will go on. And Prabhupada always said that if you just go on, you'll be successful. Many times when there was pushback, Prabhupada, and we felt like, well, we didn't really see like how we're going to go on. And Prabhupada said, just go on and you will turn out successful. He always said that. And he, even in spite of setbacks, we never saw Prabhupada like come to class one day and say, oh, I'm so depressed today, so-and-so Maharaj has given up his sannyas and left his temple. And, I never saw Prabhupada like that. I mean, he may have been obviously feeling some pain, but not in a way that he would become weakened by that, or not in a way that he would lose his enthusiasm. So that's the idea. We'll get strength to continue. We gave class on Friday about steadiness and how to remain steady in spite of all the dualities that are thrown at us. And that's a qualification of a devotee who has the mercy of Guru. They'll always, no matter what, they'll always find a place within themselves where there's strength to continue, where there's enthusiasm to continue. And so wherever that strength and enthusiasm is for you, you have to find it somehow or other. Because if you can't find it, then you're going to be in trouble. Right? Yeah, so you always have to have that. It's kind of like a boxer goes into the arena, and when he's fighting, he sees how the other person is fighting, and sometimes he's not ready for it. He misunderstood how that person fights, and he has to adjust, and so he has to find out. Or in any sport, there's competition, or in business, the same thing. You're going with the punches, so to speak. You're adapting to the environment, and you're finding your strength within that environment, isn't it? Like how to adapt to the opposition. So we should always have that within our Krishna consciousness. When things are difficult, where can I go to find my strength? How do I get Balaram's mercy? What do I do to get that mercy so I can be strong? That's the idea. Okay. So there are no questions or comments. So I'm going to have to find another document. to read, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. A lot of these other documents I have are a little esoteric. So, I want to build up to the esoteric. And I think they're all esoteric. Well, yeah. So we may go into the land of esoteric. Okay, I will read some notes I have. And then we'll discuss. Are you ready? Are you enthusiastic? Are you awake? Or are you hungry and tired? No, you're ready. Okay. I got so hungry this morning. I didn't eat much yesterday, so I was reading at 7 o'clock. I had to stop reading and eat something. I usually don't eat till like 9. So. Okay, so we're going to find this document. Balaram conceives of himself first and foremost as Krishna's friend. However, within his sense of fraternal love for Krishna, he also conceives of himself as both Krishna's servant and Krishna's guru, because he's his older brother. So he's got these different relationships. Thus he serves Krishna from above and below and in between. His sakya, or his friendship, is sankula, or mixed with dasya and vatsala. So this is the science of rasa, which is a very intricate science, and rasa means relationship, and rasa means what one's relationship is, like sakya ras. So Krishna has different kinds of friends. He has friends who are equal, and he has friends who are subservient. They have a friendship in the mood of service. And then Krishna has older friends who are more dominant, take a more of a paternal position. And Balaram, we see often, is as the elder brother in this paternal mood to protect Krishna, right? But Prabhupada said, who is stronger, Krishna or Balaram? And how do you know who's stronger? And Prabhupada said, Krishna's stronger, because you know why Prabhupada said Krishna's stronger? Anybody know? Because if you look at the Krishna Balaram deities, whose arm is on whose shoulder? Balaram's arm is on Krishna's shoulder. That means he's stronger. But still, because Balaram is older than Krishna, like 7-8 days or so. Balaram's appearance day is when? 22nd, is that correct? And Janmashtami is what, 31st? So it's like 8 days? Yeah. So he's 8 days older brother. And older brothers protect the younger brothers, right? So that relationship is very prominent, but you also see this relationship of Balaram as servant, facilitator. So you may wonder, how is it that Balaram has his own gopis and he's doing his Rasa Leela? You ever wonder about that? It's kind of interesting. But Balaram's always in the mood of service, so it is said that he's actually preparing for Krishna's Rasa Leela by doing his. He's never in the mood of independent enjoyer, but always in the mood of facilitating Krishna. So we've discussed this before. Sometimes it doesn't always look like that, but that's the mood. And so we should always at least understand that's the mood. So Balaram provides paraphernalia for Krishna Lila. I'm sure we're going to read all this stuff. He expands himself as the paraphernalia. He expands himself as Ananta Sesha, as the hoods, and expands himself into different things Krishna uses. So that way he's serving the pastime. He expands himself into the Dham. He's expanding into different paraphernalia that Krishna uses in his Leela. So that's the way he's serving. And of course, brothers are friends. So he's also on this equal level. Like you see cowherd boys, equal level, fighting with Krishna, playing jokes on Krishna, like that. So usually those cowherd boys occupy one particular rasa, either as subordinate friend, equal friend, or in a more paternal older brother. And he has all three. Hare Krishna. Okay. Balaram is Akhanda Guru Tattva. That is, he personifies the principle of teaching all souls how to serve Krishna. So the original Guru. All scripture glorify the service of Krishna, and thus they glorify Baladev because he personifies service. Plus, whatever exists is a manifestation of his potency, like the universe are held up by his potency. Balaram, as he expands, is actually gravity, the force that holds up the universe. So, but specifically here, as we have been talking about, he, as original Guru, he personifies the principle of how to serve, because the Guru is Acharya. You can't be a Guru unless you set an example. What's the good of all your talk if you don't set an example? So Balaram, as the original Guru, is also the best servant. So he personifies service. And that's the principle of Guru. So what's being said here, it's interesting, is that wherever the scriptures glorify service, they're actually glorifying Balaram, because he's the personification of service, the best servant. Okay, you know that story that Balaram came into the assembly of saints, sages in Naimisharanya, and Ramarshan Sutta was speaking. And generally, the etiquette is when a great personality comes, everyone shows respect, even the speaker. But Ramarshan didn't do this. So, you know what happened to Ramarshan Sutta? Balaram killed him. So what's the significance of that? Is that he was posing as a guru, but he wasn't actually guru. He didn't know how to behave. So even though you pose as a guru, Balaram is showing, no, that's not enough. You actually have to behave properly. So he was not properly situated. He disrespected Balaram, which he should not have done, which indicates some form of pride. And his son was named Sutta, not Sukadeva, Sutta Goswami. And so Balaram had killed Ramarsan Sutta, and now what to do? They had asked him to bring him back to life, and he said, no, it's not proper. His son will speak. And so what did he do? Balaram placed his hand on Sutta's head and did the first digital transfer of knowledge in recorded history. He placed his hand on his head, and then the Shastra was revealed to him. All the scriptures were manifest. You'd probably like that to happen, right? Why waste time at Bhakti Shastra? It takes so long. Why not just get one hand on the head? Transcendental digital transfer. Well, it's not actually digital. It's analog. And then you're good to go. Yeah. Well, the point is that when one pleases Balaram, that's what happens, or that can happen. When one displeases him, then you lose. So this is a good example of pleasing Guru or offending Guru. A good example of becoming proud or becoming submissive and humble. So the submissive servant, the humble servant, gets the mercy of the Guru, and then there's this verse that says, Yasadeve para bhaktir yatadevi tata guru. If you have faith in your Guru like you have in Krishna, then the Vedas, the import, the essence will manifest through realization in your heart. You'll understand them. You can't just understand by reading. So again, we're going back to this principle of pleasing Guru, pleasing the Acharyas. And we had talked about this a few in other classes, how we all experience how powerful it is to do something that pleases Prabhupada. We just feel surcharged with Krishna consciousness, isn't it? So, Balaram, Romarshan Sutta offended Balaram. That was the end of his Krishna consciousness. Sutta had a different attitude. He pleased Balaram. Balaram was pleased, and he revealed the scriptures through his heart. We have this story of Gaurkishore Das Babaji, and Gaurkishore Das Babaji was illiterate. But it's not that he didn't understand the purport of Shastra. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? That Shastra is realized. And then this other story of this Brahmin who couldn't read, but he was reading Bhagavad Gita. And Mahaprabhu knew he couldn't read, and he said, why are you reading? You can't read. And he said, well, my Guru Maharaj told me to read. And he was crying while he was so-called reading, and Mahaprabhu said, why are you crying? He said, I'm thinking how Arjuna is serving Krishna by driving his chariot. He's actually taking a subordinate position, so I'm having this emotional reaction to that, thinking how Krishna subordinated himself to his devotee. It's making me cry. And Mahaprabhu said, oh, you are the real student of the Gita. The one who can't read it is the real student. And then, as we know, Prabhupada has talked about scholars, who can't understand, who write commentaries on the Gita but can't understand anything about it. That's what's so interesting about scholarship. You can write a lot and understand a little, isn't it? I've coined this term intellectual fools. Sometimes you know so much you become foolish, isn't it? You're like, you know too much, and the person who just knows a little seems to get the point more clearly than the person who knows everything, sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Okay. So, okay. So it's always nice to be reminded of stories in which devotees were humble, they had a good attitude, and they were blessed by their gurus with all kinds of spiritual advancement. And it's always good to be reminded of those who offended sadhus and the consequence of offending them. Now, you might say, I've offended so many sadhus. Look at me, I'm still here. Well, you can't offend Balaram and still be here. I can guarantee you that. So, the higher you go up in the persons you target to offend, the more it's going to affect you. So you offended some, devotee, nice devotee. Not good for your spiritual life, but it didn't devastate you. But as you go higher, the more exalted the devotee you offend, the more reaction there will be. And all I can say is, my dear devotees, be careful. Sometimes there are great devotees who exist outside of ISKCON that we may have heard bad things about because they're not in ISKCON, or they said something which we feel is different from what Prabhupada said, philosophically or practically, and then we make offenses in our heads. That's very dangerous. Some of those great souls are very exalted. It may be true that maybe they did say something that's not exactly how Prabhupada instructed us. And that is what it is. But it doesn't qualify us to make offense. So these stories are there in Shastra just as like, hey, look at this. Don't do this. And, we all know emotions are strong. Anger is strong. It's like a drug. It can control our thoughts and words. We have to be very careful not to become angry with Vaishnavas, and to be respectful, and to be empathetic even if we disagree. Empathy doesn't mean you agree. It means you understand how a person sees things, what they're going through. And so that's important. And I may not agree with what you're saying, but I can understand why you're saying it. I can understand how you feel. These things are important. So one of the things you run into in spiritual circles, and I think maybe even it's more intense when you have a guru, is that sometimes someone will say something that goes against what your guru says, and that brings out a strong emotional reaction. Isn't it? Or you get blinded by emotion due to affection. So, we lose up. If you like someone or you hate someone, you can lose objectivity. So, I don't like you because you're not in ISKCON, and I lose my objectivity about you, and then I offend you, right? Or I like you because you're in ISKCON, even though you do things which are not really respectable, but I still respect you. So, just be a little careful. There's a difference between blasphemy and criticism. Now, you might see that a devotee has done something or said something which has hurt others, and you have nothing against that devotee, but you're concerned that their actions are hurting others. And that is not blasphemy, and that is not even criticism. You may be concerned that devotee is doing things which are hurting themselves. That's not blasphemy, that's not criticism. You may be concerned that the devotee is doing something that is hurting me. That's not blasphemy, that's not criticism. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's just simply a desire to rectify a situation. Now, the problem that we have as bona fide malechas, if you don't know what a malecha is, I will tell you. It's you. Okay, that answers that question. A malecha is someone born outside of Vedic culture who doesn't know that you're supposed to eat with your right hand, and doesn't know you're not supposed to use toilet paper, you're supposed to use water, and doesn't know a million other such things. That's all part of being a malecha. And of course, they grow up eating meat and unregulated sex and so forth and so on. So, the little things and the big things, right? So, I don't even know why I said that. What did I say before that? I lost track. This always happens when I don't sleep enough. I've concluded, like Bhagavatam says, Memory and sleep go together. And I don't know, sometimes I can't go to bed at night till like midnight. And then I get up like the same time I get up if I go to bed early. And then, so what did I say? Tell me, somebody tell me.
Gurudev, you were speaking about the difference between blasphemy and criticism.
Yeah. And blasphemy and criticism. Yeah. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has given these three levels. So if we are considering that others are going to be hurt, that person himself is going to be hurt, we're going to be hurt, that's not blasphemy and that's not criticism. If that's our intention, if our intention is to help the situation. If we are defaming that person, oh, that person is very bad, that person is stupid, that person is this, that person is that, or worse, passing on rumors that we don't know are true. You ever do that? Yeah. Well, how do you know that? Well, I read it on Facebook. Oh, well, it must be true then. It's on Facebook, right? Well, yeah, not really. That's the problem we have today, We get our news from Facebook. That's dangerous. So, passing on rumors about a person, defacing the person, that's blasphemy, right? And so the Shastra, or mistreating a person, mistreating them. So the Shastra gives ample example of that, with the intention of basically scaring us away from doing it. Of course, some people do it, but they rationalize doing it because they feel the person deserves it by their behavior. They deserve to be blasphemed. Look at what they're doing. So I've often said, when a person does that, even if they're chanting Hare Krishna, the fact that they're continually blaspheming is a symptom that they're not Krishna conscious. So it's a symptom that they are being affected by their blasphemy because they can't stop. Yeah. So the point is, this is something we have to be careful about, because many devotees, even in our movement, have destroyed their spiritual lives because they lost respect for Vaishnavas. And they became proud and blasphemous. We can say overly critical. We could say it's a synonym to being blasphemous. Ill intent, criticism with ill intent, with the intent of defaming this person, that's blasphemy. Criticism with the intent of helping a situation, not to defame the person, is not blasphemy. So just be aware, and be aware of your blasphemy and critical triggers, what triggers you to do those things. And what I wanted to say is that the reason I was saying we were malechas is because we always don't know the etiquette when we see something wrong, how to present it, how to deal with it. So we just get mad. And we start blaspheming instead of, in a very sattvic way, dealing with it. So there is an etiquette to deal with problems. And so there's an etiquette if there's a problem. That's the point. And malechas sometimes don't know the etiquette, and they drop respect and they just lay into a person. And it pollutes them, it pollutes the person, and it pollutes the environment that they're in, because we all have to see it. Right? So we all have to be careful. Like, you may not like something, right? Or you may not like some person. That's okay, because they've done something wrong. But if you do something wrong by mistreating them because you don't like what they did, now you have two people doing something wrong. So, And we'll think, well, it's okay I do something wrong because they did it first. And I'm just reacting to what they did. Not really okay. So Jai Radhe is asking the question, is it the case that nothing qualifies us to make offenses? Yeah, exactly. There's no rationale because offenses will not help anyone. And so when there's a problem, we have to figure out how we're going to resolve this without making offenses. And of course, that's always dangerous because when you pick up a snake, if you're not careful, he'll bite you. But if you got to get rid of the snakes, there's snakes in the backyards. I got to pick them up and get rid of them. I got to put them in my neighbor's backyard. So they won't. No. So sometimes you see, people pick up snakes. I think if you've seen this in India, they gather them, put them in baskets, and I'm not sure what they do with them, just so they're out of the way, but they know how to do that, right? But if you don't know how to do that, that could be dangerous, right? And they're holding a cobra or they're holding some poisonous snake. You ever seen that? And they know how to hold it so that I guess the snake can't get their head to bite them, or they're just, snake is relaxed. I don't know. So it's something like that. When you're dealing with these sensitive issues, as long as you don't allow yourself to develop an offensive mentality, then you can deal with the issues because they're. But once you if you allow yourself to become offensive, then you become contaminated by dealing with it, and then it shows that you're actually not able to deal with it, which means you probably shouldn't deal with it if you're not able. And if you're ever mediating a group that has a problem with someone or some situation, just mediate it in a way that nobody makes offenses and everybody understands. We're here to discuss the situation and our goal is to resolve it. We're not here to put anybody down or criticize anyone. We're only here to state objective facts in relation to this situation so we can resolve it. That's being a non-malecha. That's being a person in sattva guna. That's being a devotee. So now somebody does something, and the most difficult thing is that that person did something which was unkind or blasphemous to our guru. So now what do? Prabhupada said, in that stage, that verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, you can turn that verse off for the time being and take care of that person. If someone is, outright blaspheming Prabhupada, we don't just sit around and say, we might, understanding the situation, be able to pacify them and talk to them. But definitely not when they're violent. And when it gets out of hand, then we have to put Trinadapi Sunichena on hold, take care of that person. After we've taken care of that person, we can then bring the verse up again. So Prabhupada said, he didn't say it that way, but that's just a humorous way of saying it, but that's what he said, Prabhupada's exact words were, no more Trinadapi Sunichena, take care of the situation. So, in other words, don't be silly and weak. So that requires discretion, so we don't allow, if someone is blaspheming, we stop it. No, this is not allowed. We're just trying to resolve a situation. We're not trying to destroy this devotee, right? One who has a heart to help has a right to criticize. That's the idea. So we have a question all the way from Croatia. Did I tell you, Tanya, that when I taught at the VIHE, the best students were Croatians? Did I tell you? She didn't forget that. She remembered that. They're always the best students. They must have a very good educational system there because they're always the best. Or just Croatians are smart by birth, I don't know. Or maybe both. Tanya's saying, yeah, all of those, yeah. We're smarter than everybody. Our schools are better, yeah. No, she's not saying that. We're making fun. Intelligence can show up anywhere, in any country, at any time. So what happens when we're trying to stop a devotee from harming other devotees without being offensive? But that devotee takes it as an offense. If the devotee is angry with us for any reason, does that qualify as offense? This is, this is such an interesting question, and I could pose a lot of other questions that are similar to this. And I have discussed this with my godbrothers, and I think I'm going to answer this in a way you weren't expecting, because it brings up another issue. And it brings up the issue of common sense, ethics, decency, and so forth. Because sometimes what you'll find, in order to try to follow Shastra, we may put ethics, morality, decency, common sense aside, which we shouldn't do. That's a misunderstanding. I don't, it's like, I want to do this and I thought I should do this, but Shastra says this, so I'm afraid to do this. You know that. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're all subject to making those decisions. But when we start transgressing common sense, decency, ethics, morality, then generally I think the red flag should go off and say, no, I can't try to follow this Shastric injunction at the same time do something that's unfair, unjust, not decent, etc. And Shastra can be used that way. There are a lot of religions who use Shastra that way, right, to do unjust things. But here's the verse. No, but I was just asking him directions. No, we're going to hang you. You're unchaste. You're a prostitute. No, I was just lost. It was midnight. I was afraid, like that, You ever seen that? That kind of thing. So you can have your Krishna conscious version of that. So someone is being unfairly treated, or someone is being abused, and you need to stop it. But you're thinking, but this is a senior devotee, and if I try to stop it, I will be offending him. That's the dilemma, right? The ethical dilemma. And so many varieties of that. No, it's our duty to protect the devotees. And I have done things in my life where I had to stick my neck out a little bit to protect a devotee and do something which maybe wasn't what we would normally do, and I had to weigh, well, what's more important? It's like if we're on a morning walk, right? We're in Mayapur. We're on a morning walk, and we go down to the Jalungi, and we chant Gayatri, and at one point there was a little platform, wooden platform, or bamboo platform, and the people who lived around there would go on the bamboo platform to bathe. So let's say I'm chanting Gayatri, and Tanya's like, oh, let's go on the bamboo platform. And she falls in the water. And I go, someone save her, someone save her. And she's like, help me, I'm dying. And everyone's like, I don't know how to swim. I'll die if I go in there. And I'm like, well, I can't go in because, I can't touch a woman, So, but she's going to die. I know she's going to die, but I can't touch a woman. It'll be all over Dundavat. No, it'll be all over the Ritvik side. Mahatma Prabhu saved a woman, but actually it was all planned out. He really wanted to, he really wanted to hug a woman. That's why he did it. They planned it all out. Yeah. So it's kind of like that, that kind of dilemma. Like, so to even think for a moment that I shouldn't do that, that's a problem, right? Like, I wouldn't transgress this principle to save a life. Of course I would, right? I get criticized for it anyway. And, when I'm jumping in the water, I know somebody out there someone's going to take a picture of this and put it on the internet, then I'm finished. And I have to go up against the GBC. But at least Tanya's still alive, so, I'll tolerate that, and then they'll finally find out. And we have all the witnesses here that, it wasn't planned, she actually doesn't know how to swim. Fortunately, Tanya, the water's only like waist deep, so it wouldn't be a problem. And you probably know how to swim anyway, but, something like that kind of ethical dilemma. So the problem is, and we've seen this, and I know you must have dealt with this in your own mind. The problem is that you're trying to use Krishna conscious ethics and common sense and and match it up with normal ethics, which are more clear, common sense, more clear. Yeah, of course, jump in, everybody jump in. Every man, jump in. Pick her up. I'm a brahmachari, I can't do that. Then that comes in, that other side, like, I'm brahmachari, I made a vow I wouldn't touch a woman, But you're the only one who knows how to swim, jump in. It's like, of course, just do it, Do it, save her, and, like, you're going to spend the rest of your life, feeling guilty that because you didn't save her and she died? Of course not. So what I've seen happens is that you get these, like, dilemmas. And then what is common sense, it's like it gets shut off. I can't do that because that would be offensive or this or that. So all I would say in answer to your question is morals, ethics, common sense, time, place, circumstance. Don't shut it off. And, if you do the wrong thing and, maybe later you realize, well, if I was more mature, I know I could have done something else or whatever. That may be there, but I think in general, that's not as big a problem as we think it is. And as I've said many times to many devotees, if we teach our philosophy in a way that would cause us to turn off our common sense, our common judgment, our use of our sense of justice and fairness and equality, sensitivity, intuition, etc., then we have created a complete brainwashing cult. We have been successful at creating a brainwashing cult. And that's not what we want to do, obviously. So that's my answer to that question. It's not specific, time, place, circumstance, but here's a question I will throw back to that question. Sometimes, let's say this is a hypothetical situation, and you see a senior devotee doing something which in your mind is unfair, it's unjust, it's unethical, it's immoral, whatever it is, it's wrong in some way. But they're senior devotees, so your first thought is, well, maybe it's not wrong, maybe it's not because they're senior. And it could be that it isn't. But let's say in this sense you're getting a sense that it is wrong, right? So ask yourself this question, Tanya, and all of you, Tanya Anugas, followers of Tanya who asked this question. Ask yourself this question: if this wasn't a senior devotee, what would I do? And whatever the answer is, probably that's the right answer in that situation, You're like, well, if it wasn't Tanya, if it was just, a brahmachari, of course I'd jump in. Or if it was a 5-year-old girl, of course I'd jump in. Or some village lady, that's drowning. Yeah, we would jump in. So sometimes you have to ask those kinds of questions, If this wasn't such a, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Or I'm not, sometimes I think I'm not seeing what I'm seeing because it's an advanced devotee. But your intuition is saying, no, I know what I'm seeing. This is not good. So it's in my mind, those are the two things. To acknowledge what you're seeing, if you're actually seeing it, and if you're not seeing it, ask somebody, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because I'm seeing this. Am I offensive? Am I wrong? And the other person says, no, I'm seeing the same thing. This must be wrong. So confirm what you're seeing is seeing, and don't be afraid to think that you're seeing what you're seeing. And secondly, then learn how to deal with it without having to defame anybody. And if that person is offended, if, like we're saying, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you may criticize someone if the person's actions are hurting others. So if others are if you risk being offensive, then you think, well, how can I do this and not be offensive? But if you can't think of a way to do it, that you think there is no way, the person will be offended, but other people are suffering, then it's your duty, according to Prabhupada, to protect that person. That's our duty, at the cost of offending. And then, that person may be offended, but technically, objectively, did you offend them? No. Is it going to affect you that they're offended? Probably, emotionally, spiritually, to some degree. But is the service that you did to protect this devotee necessary? Yes. Therefore, Krishna will protect you ultimately because you did the right thing. So these are sensitive issues, but that would be my take on it. Okay. So now we have Christe. One class you said that even as young devotees, we should not ignore our intuition if we see something's wrong. Of course, it's not mixed with personal emotions. Yeah. I mean, it's like you don't have to act on it, but don't ignore it. So Gauradas is here. Welcome, Gauradas. All the way from the middle of nowhere. Gauradas is a godbrother who lives in the middle of nowhere. And the other day, since he lives in the middle of nowhere, he went on Harinam alone. Because there are no devotees in the middle of nowhere. He lives in Canada. And I feel bad for him in the middle of the winter because it's cold. When we see that devotees' lives are being put into danger by temple authorities demanding that they inject harmful substances to themselves, what should we do? If devotees are told they are not welcome at a temple unless they take a dangerous injection, should we be unconcerned? Is it complicity to not speak up? Is it blasphemy to a temple authority if we state that they are giving harmful advice? Should we, you're going to get me in trouble, Gora, should we just close our eyes and ears and pretend that everything is fine? It would depend on the temple, the devotees, the relationship, all of that. Because just because you say something that's good or right or beneficial, or at least in your eyes it's good or right or beneficial, doesn't mean the person you say it to is going to see it that way. So, as they say, choose your battles wisely. That would be my answer. It's like, is this a battle you want to fight in this temple? Because you may have lost before you started. So, you could be eating gulab jamuns instead of fighting with the temple president. So you have to choose, what do you want to do? Because if you spend all day fighting, there's no time for prasadam. So, and you need a certain kind of, a certain level of shanti in your life, isn't it? So, that's why they say choose your battles wisely, because when you go out to battle, you're going to get hurt. And it's like, is it really worth fighting this battle to get hurt? And is anything going to really change other than me getting kicked out of the temple or, getting blasphemed on Facebook, So, you do what you do in your sphere of influence. And then, you've done it. Everyone's going to make decisions. Like for every... I was just thinking about this today, Gora, and I think, I don't know, what was I reading? Oh yeah, I was having a discussion, because I've had some discussions with some devotees, and they don't have the capacity to see both sides of an issue, not this vax issue, it's other issues. And I was thinking, you can't really have a discussion because they only see it one way and they only want to see it one way. So knowing that, generally I don't ever discuss anything with such people because I know that it's a waste of time because they don't actually have the capacity to see it another way. And I was thinking how, it's our duty, I think, it's our duty, no matter what we believe, to read as much about the opposing arguments as the arguments for it. Like, a lot of people do not feel women should be gurus. So to them, I would suggest Well, read all the books and all the articles about why they should be. For those who believe they should be, read all the articles and books about why they shouldn't be. Because fanaticism means to make a judgment without objective information of all sides of the issue. So, you have both sides of the issue. You've studied it all. You've made a decision. Encourage everybody. Study this topic. Study all sides of it. Make your decision, Be careful. Make sure you don't make the wrong decision. That's probably the best you can do. I think that's better than just promoting one side and say, you say, I've read all sides of the issue. This is my conclusion. For these reasons, you can, study both sides and then make your decision. Then we won't be fanatical. So fanatics only study one side. And you can't make proper judgment if you've only heard one side, right? Not that your judgment would change if you heard both sides, but at least now you have both sides. Okay, so I read the other side of the female Diksha Guru issue, why they shouldn't be. I study it, and I think, still convinced, but I'm open. I understand why you think that way. I see there's some good arguments. I think you're interpolating it because of your own bias, but that's me, and that's my conclusion. Or I see your arguments and I'm shifted. I see, no, you have some good points. You've changed my mind. If we can't be that way, we're going to live in a really awkward situation because we'll be down one another's throats, right? And I would say the other thing is that, it requires some detachment because there are devotees who are going to get vaccinated, and there are devotees who will never get vaccinated, and there's some in the middle. So the ones who are going to, you're never going to convince not to, I don't think. And the ones in the middle, you might. And the ones who aren't, you don't have to convince. But I just think it's important for all of us to know all sides of every issue. I think that's like due diligence, especially if we're teachers and, we're asked questions about something, We can't just explain one side of it. That's not fair. I say, okay, this is what the anti-vaxxers say. These are all the reasons. This is what the vaccinators, the people who are promoting it, say. These are all the reasons. I personally have chosen to do this for these reasons. There you go. That seems to be the best way, because then you don't come on as a fanatic. You say, I've studied both sides, I know the GBC says this. I know Bhaktivedanta Hansapado has said this. These are the 6 reasons they give, but I can counter those 6 reasons with 6 arguments for those. This is why I don't do it. You make your decision. Yeah, I think that's what we need. I've studied the issue. This is why I believe women should not initiate. This is why I believe they should. I've read the arguments against it. These arguments counter it. If you understand Prabhupada in this context, then you will understand it this way. I understand it in this context. Something like that. Right? Then you don't get so what are they doing? Why are they doing this? What's happening? Because it's a fact that it's a fact there are problems in ISKCON. You probably noticed, right? Did you notice any problems the last time you went to a temple? Yeah, I noticed a few. Yeah, myself also. So it's called being human beings. As long as we're human beings, there will be problems. But if we focus too much on the problems, then it's and I have to, as my service now, I have to focus on a lot of problems, managerial problems and personal problems of devotees, And some people say, well, how do you deal with that without becoming discouraged or depressed? And I say, well, I have a life also. So I don't allow those problems to affect my life. So I think that's important. It's okay, I hear the problem and it's I read a paper, a 65-page paper about a huge problem in ISKCON. That's really bad. It's really bad. It's really bad. What's the problem? I'll tell you another day. I'm okay. So what can we do about it? So my reaction is what can I do about it positively? Or I'm educated about the problem so that I don't do it, So I'm not all disturbed. I'm just okay, I understand this problem. Now I reflect, am I part of the problem or part of the solution? What am I doing? And so the paper was good. Otherwise, I just go, ISKCON's bad, is this, that, blah, 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 and I can't sleep at night, and I hate everybody now. So I don't want to go there, because that's not what Prabhupada wants us to do. So that's kind of my mood. Okay, so we have 3 questions left for Wednesday, right? Can you save these questions, Tanya? And all of you who asked them, please come back. Oh, it's just people paying obeisances. Okay. Well, anyway, save the question. It's time to end this class and begin our japa session. So, Gormani or Anuradha, you want to do the needful?
Hare Krishna, I just need for someone to make me a host.
I think, Christe, can you make Gormani the host?
I just
Okay.
did it. It should work now.
It's just going to take me a moment.
Okay.
I just have to take the waiting room off.
I need a moment to decompress from the hot topic of class.
Necesita un momento para descompresarse del tema que estamos hablando de la clase.
The big challenges in my life, because we go from this Kshatriya mode. This last discussion